Hey everybody, welcome back to another video. In this video, I'll be showing you how I draw hair using this new acrylic marker set that Arrtx sent to me, so huge thank you to them. So my first impression after opening the box is the colors look very vibrant. I'm really happy with the color selection that you get, especially on the second tray. All the blues, greens, and grays have my name all over it, and I can't wait to test them out. These markers feel very fancy. They remind me a lot of the Karin deco brush markers if you've ever tried those. I really appreciate how there's no pumping or button to push to get the ink to come out. It's already ready to go. The brush tip also looks pretty nice. I like how the end comes to a very fine point, so it should be pretty easy to get details in your drawings. Before we get into the drawing, let's go ahead and test these out with some swatches. Just don't forget to shake them first so the ink gets mixed up properly. I'm not really sure what happened with this yellow one, but no matter how much I tried to shake it, I just couldn't get the ink to come out. I did tell Arrtx what happened, and they offered to send me a whole other set, which is very nice of them. I'm about halfway done swatching these, and I'm very impressed with the application. The ink feels very smooth and really satisfying to color with. I really like how bright and saturated the colors look, and I'm super excited to swatch this one. Here's all 36 colors that you get, and I just wanted to show you that with acrylic markers, they don't go through the back of your paper, so you can use them in your sketchbooks without worrying about any bleed through. Before we get into using the markers, I'm going to walk you through how I like to draw hair. So to make it easy on yourself, don't try to draw each strand of hair individually. What you want to do instead is focus on the shapes that you see in your reference. You can see on the top of her head, I broke it down into groups of hair. It's also important to note which direction the hair is going as well. So to draw a braid, I made the center line first, and then I started at the top by drawing a bigger curved shape, and you just want to go smaller as you work your way down the braid. The middle of the braid should have this like zigzag shape. I wanted mine to be fairly loose. If you want your braids to look more uniform, you can draw the center line and then do the zigzag down the middle, and then you can do the curves all the way to the end. Alright, now that the sketch is done, I'm going to take a kneaded eraser and lighten up the sketch lines a little bit before we go in with the markers. You knew it was coming. I was going to choose all the greens and the blues. So I started with this light green color, and in the beginning you just want to establish the shapes of the hair as well as the direction it's going. I like to leave a blank space for the highlight just to help me see the shape of the hair better. Since acrylic markers are very opaque, it's kind of easy to lose your initial sketch. So that little trick just kind of helps me keep the form a little bit easier. Now that I'm happy with the base color, I'm going to go ahead and start picking out the shadows with this dark gray color. In order to blend these, you want to work pretty fast. What works for me is after you've established your base color and where the light and shadows are gonna go, now we can go over top of it with either the same base color or you can add in different colors. I just like to go a little bit at a time and I shear out the colors with my finger to really work up the layers. Now that I'm happy with the color of the hair, I'm gonna go in with a little bit of colored pencil just to work up the contrast in the shadows a little bit more. I prefer to use a black pencil for this, but I know a lot of people don't. You can also use a dark purple or a dark blue to build up your shadows as well. But I'm just going back and forth between the black pencil and the markers, and I'm just shearing them out with my finger like before to continue to build up the layers. So since her braid is coming from the back of her head, I'm going to start with the darker gray marker first just to really build up the shadows, and I decided to add a little bit of blue just to add some variation in her hair color. And just like before, I'm going to take a little bit of colored pencil just to help build the contrast up. I just want to mention that when you're adding a color pencil on top of markers, it can leave a little bit of a texture, which is what I want, but sometimes it can be a little bit too much, and that's when you want to go back in with your marker to smooth it out. So basically, if your drawing is too smooth, you add pencils. If it's too textured, then you add markers. For this drawing, I liked it better when the shadows were smoothed out and the highlights were more textured, but I guess it just depends on your reference and what you want to achieve in your drawing, so just feel free to experiment and see what you like. I'm about halfway done with the braids at this point, and I had the idea to make them kind of like an ombre effect towards the ends. So what I'm doing is adding in a lot of the neon green color just to lighten up the ends of the braids a little bit. This worked fairly well, although I ended up adding too much of the gray marker, so I had to go over top with the green to kind of get the saturation back. That's a good thing about these markers, is that you can just keep on going and going and going. It's super easy to go over top a section if you mess up the color or you just don't like it anymore. These are very forgiving, and honestly, it was a little bit hard for me to know when it was time to stop. I think the equivalent of it would be the undo button for digital artists, where you draw a line, undo, draw a line, undo. That's how I felt with this. Okay, so now her hair is pretty much done other than highlighting, which we'll do after I color in the ribbon. I'm just going to be using the same colors that I've already used throughout the whole drawing. I'm just going to apply them a little bit differently. So I've been getting a lot of questions about how to know where to put the color in your drawing. And basically it all comes down to the value of what your color is, meaning what is it going to look like in black and white. So obviously you want the darker colors to go in the shadows and the lighter colors to be your highlights. But you can take it one step further and pull some color theory into it. So the colors in this drawing work so well together because they're all next to each other on the color wheel, which is called an analogous color palette. These types of colors are typically easier to work with just because they're right next to each other. They're very easy to blend together. But the thing that's going to make it stand out is understanding color temperature. So when you want something in your drawing to stand out, you should pick a warm color. If you want something to be pushed back, you pick a cooler color. So for this drawing, I made all the shadows a cool gray color and the highlights are going to be a warm green. So if you can follow those two basic things of darker colors in the shadows, lighter colors in the highlights, and then cool colors in the shadows, warm colors in the highlights, then you'll be on the right track. It's not going to really matter what type of colors you pick, but that's just a very basic explanation of it. Let me know if you'd like me to make a separate video about color theory. I hope this video was helpful. I hope you liked the drawing, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for watching.